Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Vichana Bhavava Vichana Bhavava Yashodanandana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhavava Giridhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Srila Prabhupada ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So, we're starting a new chapter today. Right, we finished yesterday, the previous chapter. So we're just we're reading for a while, and we'll read the chapter summary, and then about 20 verses before there's a purport. So I'll read those and chant the last one. Okay? The chapter is called the Descendants of Ajmidha. This chapter describes the descendants of Dasa. It also describes Jarasandha, who belongs to the Vriksha dynasty, as well as Duryodhana, Arjuna, and others. The son of Dasa was Mitrayu. Okay. Who had 4 sons. one after another. Shavana, Sudasha, Sahadeva, Sumaka, and Samaka. Samaka had 100 sons, of whom the youngest was Prishata, from whom Drupada was born. Drupada's daughter was Draupadi, and his sons were headed by Drishtajumna. Drishtajumna's son was Drishtaketu. Another son of Ajamidha was named Vriksha. From Vriksha came a son named Samvarana, and from Samvarana came Kuru, the king of Kurukshetra. Kuru had 4 sons, Parikshi, Sudanu, Shanu, and Nishada. Among the descendants of the dynasty from Sudanu were Suhotra, Shavana, Kriti, and Uparicharavasi. The sons of Uparicharavasi included Brihadrata, Kushamba, Matsya, Patyagra, and Chedipa, became kings of the Chedi state. In the dynasty from Brihadrata came Kujangra, Rishava, Satyahit, Pushpavan, and Jahu, and from Brihadrata through the womb of another wife named Jarasandha, who was followed by Sahadev, Sumapi, Shrutashrava, when they were born. Parikshi, the son of Kuru, had no sons. Among the descendants of Janu were Sarata, Vidurata, Sarvabhauma, Jaisena, Radhika, Ayutthaya, Akbodhana, Devatiti, Vriksha, Dilipa, and Pradeepa. The sons of Pradeepa were Devapi, Santanu, and Bahivika. When Devapi retired to the forest, his younger brother, Shantanu, became the king. Although Shantanu, being younger, was not eligible to occupy the throne, he disregarded his elder brother. Consequently, there was no rainfall for 12 years. Means of offense or a mistake. There's no rainfall for 12 years. Following the advice of the Brahmanas, Shantanu was ready to return the kingdom to Devapi. But by the intrigue of Shantanu's minister, Devapi became unfit to be king. Therefore, Shantanu resumed the charge of the kingdom, and rain fell properly during his regime. By mystic power, Devapi still lives in the village known as Kalapagram. In this Kali Yuga, when the descendants of Soma, known as the Chandra Vangsha, the lunar dynasty, die out, Devapi, at the beginning of Satya Yuga, will reestablish the dynasty of the moon. The wife of Shantanu, named Ganga, gave birth to Bhishma, one of the 12 authorities. 2 sons named Chitrangada and Vichitravirta Travirya were also born from the womb of Satyavati by the semen of Shantanu. And Vyasadeva was born from Satyavati by the semen of Parashara. Vyasadeva instructed the history of the Bhagavatam to his son Shukadeva through the womb of the two wives and the maidservant of Travirya. Vyasadeva begot Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. Dhritarashtra had 100 sons, headed by Duryodhana, and one daughter named Nushala. Pandu had 5 sons, headed by Yudhisthira, and each of these 5 sons had one son from Draupadi. The names of these sons of Draupadi were Prativindya, Shrutasena, Shrutakirti, Shatanika, and Shruta-karma. Besides these five sons, by other wives, the Pandavas had many sons, such as Devaka, Gatokacha, Sarvagata, Suhotra, Naramitra, Iravan, Vaha, and Abhimanyu. So Abhimanyu, Maharishi Parikshit was born, and Maharishi Parikshit had 4 sons, Janmajaya, Shuddhasena, Bhimasena, and Ugrasena. Next, Sukadeva Goswami described the future sons of the Pandu family. From Janmajaya, he said, would come a son named Satyanika, and following in the dynasty would be Shanka, Ashvamedyaja, Asimakrisha, Devi Chakra, Chitra Rata, Shruti Rata, Rishtiman, Sushena, Sunita, Chakru, Sukinala, Pratiglava, Sunaya, Medavi, Jaya, Durba, Timi, Brihadrata, Sahadev, Shatanika, Duryodhana, Marina, Dandapani, Nimi, and Shivaka. Okay. So one more short paragraph. Sukadeva Goswami then predicted the kings of the Magadha Vangsha, or Magadha dynasty. Sahadev, the son of Jarasandha, would beget Varjari, and from him would come Shrutashrava. Subsequently, taking birth in the dynasty will be Utayu, Niramitra, Sumasharta, Brihatsena, Karmajit, Sutanjaya, Vipra, Shuchi, Jema, Shruvata, Sutra, Sama, Dhrumatsena, Sumati, Subala, Sunita, Satyajit, Vishvajit, and Ripunjaya. These long family trees are not, maybe not so interesting, or maybe they are. Huh? Huh? Oh, maybe you mentioned here too. Um, so I think there's no purport until verse 20. So just read the translations. One thing we see here, there were several individuals who were mentioned here, who they said, and this such and such person had 100 sons. See, like, modern Kali Yuga, you say, no, couldn't be. The Srila Prabhupada said actually it was very common. We heard about Dhritarashtra, certain people who had 100 sons mentioned, but he said it was actually very common, and this is some of this was just in the end of the previous age. We're getting the time of Lord Krishna appearing. So that's at the end of the Dwapara Yuga. So yes, there were somehow or other they can't imagine having a family. There was 100 sons, which are difficult these days, having even one or two children. But somehow or other it was done, and in Vedic culture, of course, the ideal is everyone was trained up to be first-class people in the world. And when they were trained up and they were acting properly, then the world was in a very much better, easier situation. Anyway, let's just go ahead and read the translations. There's a purport after around verse 20. Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, the son of Divodasa was Mitrayu. And from Mitrayu came 4 sons named Shravana, Shudasa, Sahadev, and Somaka. Somaka was the father of Janaka. Somaka had 100 sons, of whom the youngest was Pushata. From Pushata was born King Drupada, who was opulent in all supremacy. From Maharaj Drupada, Draupadi was born. Maharaj Drupada also had many sons, headed by Drishtadyumna. From Drishtadyumna came a son named Drishtaketu. All these personalities are known as descendants of Varmashra, or as the dynasty of Panchala. Another son of Ajmidha was known as Vriksha. From Vriksha came a son named Samvarna, and from Samvarna, through the womb of his wife Tapati, the daughter of the sun god, came Kuru, the king of Kurukshetra. Kuru had 4 sons, Parikshi, Sudanu, Janu, and Nishada. From Sudanu, Suhotra was born, and from Suhotra, Shravana, and from Shravana, Kriti was born. 6. The son of Kriti was Uparichara Vasu, and among his sons, headed by Grihadratha, were Kushamba, Matsya, Pratyagra, and Chedipa. All the sons of Uparichara Vasu became rulers of the Chedi state. From Grihadratha, Kushagra was born, and Kushagra Rishabha was, and from Rishabha, Satyajit. The son of Satyajit was Pushpavan, and the son of Pushpavan was Jahu. Through the womb of another wife, Brihadratha begot two halves of a son. Two halves of a son. When the mother saw those two halves, she rejected them. But later, a she-demon named Jara playfully joined them and said, "Come to life, come to life." Thus a son named Jarasandha was born. From Jarasandha came a son named Sahadev. From Sahadev, Solapi, and from Solapi, Shrutashrava. The son of Kuru named Parikshin had no sons, but the son of Kuru called Janu had a son named Surata. From Surata came a son named Vidarath, and from Sarvabhauma, from whom Sarvabhauma was born. From Sarvabhauma came Jayasena, and from Jayasena, Radhika, and from Radhika, Ayutayu. From Ayutayu came a son named Akrodana, and his son was Devatiti. The son of Devatiti was Vriksha. The son of Vriksha was Dilipa. And the son of Dilipa was Pratipa. The sons of Pratipa were Devati, Shantanu, and Mahalika. Devati left the kingdom of his father and went to the forest, and therefore Shantanu became the king of Shantanu, who in his previous birth was known as Mahabhisha, and he had the ability to transform anyone from old age to youth simply by touching that person with his hands. Interesting. Because the king was able to make everyone happy for sense gratification, primarily by the touch of his hand, his name was Shantanu. Once, when there was no rainfall in the kingdom for 12 years, and the king consulted his learned brahminical advisor, they said, "You are faulty for enjoying the property of your elder brother. For the elevation of your kingdom and home, you should return the kingdom to him." Here, short purport. One cannot enjoy sovereignty or perform an Agnihotra Yajna in the presence of one's elder brother, or else one becomes a usurper, known as Prativeda. One cannot enjoy sovereignty or perform an Agnihotra Yajna in the presence of one's elder brother. Okay, so if you're the king, you can't be the king, and if you have an elder brother if you have an elder brother, the elder brother becomes the king. And then a couple more verses, and then more of a purport. When the Brahmanas said this, Maharaj Shantanu went to the forest and requested his elder brother Devati to take charge of the kingdom, for it is the duty of a king to maintain his subjects. Previously, however, Shantanu's minister Ashvavara had instigated some brahmanas to induce Devati to transgress the injunctions of the Vedas and thus make himself unfit for the post of ruler. The Brahmanas deviated Devati from the path of Vedic principles, and therefore, when asked by Shantanu, he did not agree to accept the post of a ruler. On the contrary, he blasphemed the Vedic principles and therefore became fallen. Under the circumstances, Shantanu again became the king, and Indra became pleased. Indra, being pleased, showered rain. Devati later took to the path of mystic yoga to control his mind and senses and went to the village named Kala, where he is still living. So we're talking about, this is all just before or Krishna's appearance, so that's been, so he's still living before the 5,000 years. There are some personalities also that are living, and are living, and will continue to be living until the end of the Kali Yuga. Give the name, but the one becomes the father of the Kalki Avatar. It's mentioned in the 12th canto. After the dynasty of the moon god comes to an end in the age of Kali, Devati, in the beginning of the next Satyuga, will reestablish the Soma dynasty in this world. From Mahika, the brother of Santanu, came a son named Somadatta, who had 3 sons named Puri, Purishava, and Shala. From Shantanu, through the womb of his wife, named Ganga, became Bhishma, the exalted self-realized soul for a self-realized devotee and learned scholar. Okay, so we haven't chanted the Sanskrit verse yet, so let's just chant number 20. This is the one that has a purport. Vira yuta graniryena Bravo pi yudito shitaha Shantanor dasakanyayam Jagye chitran gada shutaha Vira yuta graniryena Bravo pi yudito shitaha Shantanor dasakanyayam Jagye chitran vedashutaha Virayuta graniryena Brahmo pi yuditoshitaha Shantanor dasakanyayam Jagye chitran vedashutaha Virayuta graniryena Brahmo Bhavapini Ghoshitaha Shantanordasakanyayam Shagye Chitran Gadasutaha Yurya Yutaganirgena Bhavapi Yulitoshitaha Dayorasakanyayam Shagye Chitran Gadasutaha Veda Bhavapi Yulitoshitaha Shantayorasakanyayam Sutaha word for word. Virayuta Agrani. Bhishma Dev, the foremost of all warriors. Yena, by whom? Rama Api. Even Parashuram, the incarnation of God. Yudi, in a fight. Toshnitaha was satisfied when defeated by Bhishma Dev. Shantanu by Shantanu. Dasa Kanyayam, in the womb of Satyavati, who was known as the daughter of a Shudra. Yagye was born. Chitrangada. Sutaha, a son. Bhishma Dev was the foremost of all warriors. When he defeated Lord Parashuram in a fight, Lord Parashuram was very satisfied with him. By the semen of Shantanu in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, Chitrangada took birth. Purport. Bhishma Dev was the foremost of all warriors. When he defeated Lord Parashuram in a fight, Lord Parashuram was very satisfied with him. By the semen of Shantanu in the womb of Satyavati, the daughter of a fisherman, Chitrangada took birth. The fight, Satyavati was actually the daughter of Upari Charavasa by the womb of a fisherwoman known as Matsya Garbha. Later, Satyavati was raised by a fisherman. The fight between Parashuram and Bhishma Dev concerns three daughters of Kashi Raja, the daughters of Kashi Raja, Ambika, Ambalika, and Amba, who were forcibly abducted by Bhishma Dev, acting on behalf of his brother Vitravirya. Amba thought that Bhishma Dev would marry her and become attached to her, but Bhishma Dev refused to marry her, for he had taken the vow of brahmacharya. Amba therefore approached Bhishma Dev's military spiritual master, Parshuram, who instructed Bhishma to marry her. Bhishma Dev refused, and therefore Parshuram fought with him to force him to accept the marriage. But Parshuram was defeated, and he was pleased with Bhishma Dev. I actually don't know what to say regarding this purport. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not so familiar with the Mahabharata. We're sure this is being all being described. Is anyone knowledgeable about these histories?
day she made a great sage called Marapsa. It's a long story, but Marapsa convinced her that the father and you don't really have to have a son. And you don't work like a shop. I think if you have a community, somebody don't worry about the wife. So they have the son, and immediately when the son was born, he became younger because they became alive. Yeah.
No.
So one Santan was walking by, and they were looking at the son was born, and that by the way, one of the greatest songs by Sharabat was the Alexander. The Ashura was the big deal because they could not speak the democrats, but they knew what to come to an agreement before the Christianity. If there was the family of the king by nation,
Yeah.
the Alexander was born in the Christianity. Was one of the main
Okay, so many interesting histories. But when we finish this chapter, the last chapter, or the next chapter, actually it's the last chapter. Next chapter. But the last chapter of this canto is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all this is leading up to Krishna appearing. I'm not sure if it's same Parashuram. Is it? Same one? Yeah, Parashuram was around for a very long time. He killed so many generations of Kshatriyas, so he lived for a very long time. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I guess we'll end for today, and we'll continue with this history tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.